Hey guys, another month and here I am to give you my top 5 albums for the month of March. Now this was a very difficult one. There's a couple of albums that I have to give a shout out because they didn't make the list, but under normal circumstances they would have been there. Death Below by August Burns Red is definitely one of them, and Of Sulphur's new record would definitely be one that under normal circumstances would also be on my list. I honestly enjoyed those two records tremendously, but this is not a top 7 albums of the month. It's a top 5 albums of the month. So I had to really narrow it down, and I want to go through chronological order as always of time of release, starting off with Frozen Crown, Call of the North, out March 10th on Scarlet Records. This is the band's 4th studio album. They are a power metal band, and what an incredible record this is. I honestly feel like this is their best album to date. This is the one where they finally found their sound, or at least it's the one where they're the closest to finding their sound. It's a well-crafted, well-executed album. It feels like a more modern version of Blind Guardian. It has a lot of those elements into the record, but it's definitely a more classic power metal album than some of their previous albums as well. So it's a very dynamic record, mixing in classic heavy metal with power metal, but doing it extremely well, very concise in its approach, great design, great execution, a ton of memorable songs, great hooks, super memorable tracks. It's just a very well crafted, very well designed, and very well executed record from start to finish. You've seen the growth in this band, and I feel like this album is a little bit of the bar that they're going to set for themselves as far as what to expect from future records. Next we have Kamelot with The Awakening, out March 17th on Napalm Records. This is the band's 13th studio album. They are a power metal band, symphonic power metal band, melodic metal band, whatever you want to call them. These guys have a lot of different faces. There's a lot of different sides to a single coin when it comes to Kamelot. Now, the reason why I picked this as one of my favorite albums for the month is because I really enjoy this record, and I think this is the best album that Kamelot has released since Tommy joined the band. One of the reasons for that is the fact that I enjoy the fact that this was a Tommy record through and through. He is the main protagonist as far as the vocal performance is concerned. And that to me was important because I think he's an outstanding vocalist, and sometimes you have to give him some room to breathe and spread his wings. And this album caters to him perfectly. It's an album that's designed with a vocalist like this in mind, a vocalist that is also a storyteller, and this record he really becomes that storyteller, and it's able to paint a very vivid picture of the stories of each and every single song. It's also an album that has a lot of power to it. It has a bit of bite on the sound. It's not a heavy, brutal album. You're not going to expect that from Kamelot, and you're not going to get that from Kamelot. But it's an album that has a lot of focus on the guitars without taking focus away from Tommy as the lead singer. So it allows you to have two different set of cornerstones, two set of pillars that are extremely important for the sound of this band as far as the past is concerned, but also going into the future. Next we have Obliviscaris with Exul, out March 24th on Season of Mist. This is the band's 4th studio album. They are a progressive metal band, and this album is so well done. From a design point of view, is flawless. It's a record that's really easy for yourselves to just lose track of time, lose track of where you are within the album. It becomes less about going from song to song and more about enjoying the moment, enjoying the experience that every track offers, and therefore the whole album puts together. It's their darkest album to date. I mean, the backdrop behind this album definitely has a lot of darkness to it, definitely has a lot of doubt of how you're going to move forward. And all of those issues that they went through on a personal level transpired into not just the songs, not just the lyrics, but the overall construction of this record. It's definitely one of those albums that is going to get better with time, because the more you listen, the more you discover, and the more you discover, the more you're going to connect with it. So it's a record that is not just going to have that playability, that short shelf life, but it's an album that's going to really be there for you from now until the end of time, if you will. Next, you have Ad Infinitum with Chapter 3 Downfall, out March 31st on Napalm Records.
Hope is fading away. Now the tables turn and pray. It's an illusion that tastes of life. Your delusion, nowhere to hide, but tell me why you swim against the...
This is the band's third studio album. They are a symphonic, power metal, melodic metal band. They're another band that's really hard to define under one genre. And when you look at the 3 records that they've released, you see the gradual growth that this band has had. Chapter 3 is perhaps the most mature and most complete. I feel like they took the best elements out of the 2 previous records, brought them in, and created a solid record that really becomes, the glue that would hold the previous 2 albums together. Everything that one was missing, the other one had, and vice versa. This album brings it all into the forefront. A very complete sounding album. An album that once again showcases Melissa's clean vocals, harsh vocals, with a lot more predominance into the clean vocals. There's more that you can do on that side of the spectrum as far as her range is concerned. And I'm glad to see her move more towards that and have a much deeper impact into the song compositions, into the sound experience, and even the atmosphere of the tracks with her beautiful voice, allowing it to have life and give life to the songs. It's still an album that has catchy, hooky tracks, still has symphonic elements, but it doesn't overuse those symphonic elements. It doesn't overburden the listener with them, so allows the record to have a little bit more impact as far as the guitar sound and even drum sound is concerned. It feels more like a metal record, less like a symphonic metal record, if that makes sense. So I like this scaling back of that side of the band, and I like the continuous press forward as far as her clean vocals, songs, in terms of the composition of the tracks, and the overall album design. This is a better structured record than its predecessor. Last but not least, Bury Tomorrow, The Seventh Son, out March 31st on Music for Nations.
Taking control, but falling apart, choosing to crawl when I can no longer walk, trapped in these 4 walls. No fear of the dark, no fear of the dark.
This is the band's 7th studio album. They are a metalcore band, and this is a home run. Now, they had some lineup changes. That's always going to create a little bit of a ripple in the world of Bury Tomorrow. Some people are not going to be happy with the changes. Some people are going to be thrilled with the changes. It's impossible to please everybody. So what you got to do is you got to go into the studio and create a record that doesn't take any hostages. This is one of those albums. This is a pissed off record through and through. It's pissed off and dark in the sound. It's pissed off and dark in the vocal delivery and how things come together. But I honestly feel like the additions to the band came in and fit in perfectly with what was already there. They give a different feel, they give a different attitude, they give a different perspective, they bring different tools. So that's all to be expected from this record. If you're expecting this album to sound like the previous albums, well, you're not going to get that. But every band is always looking forward, not necessarily looking backwards. And Bury Tomorrow with this album definitely doesn't break away from the past, but it sets a different path for itself as far as the future is concerned. I enjoyed the vocal dynamic. I thought they were perfectly working together. I enjoy the movement that these songs have. I enjoy the power, the aggression, the intensity that they bring into the forefront. And when I think about a metalcore album, I think about an album that mixes in the more melodic and melancholic side musically and vocally with the more aggressive and intensive side musically and vocally. This album does just that. So this is exactly what I would expect from a metalcore album that stands tall from the rest of the crowd. This album definitely does that. This is it. This is my top 5 albums for the month of March. Let me know what your top 5 albums are. Use the comment section below. I always love to read what you have to say because sometimes I may have missed some quality records and the conversation is really interesting and it's nice to see exactly where you are as far as your tastes are concerned. So hit me up in the comment section and I'll see you all at the next video.